I want to share something that I think is just awesome. Gerald Undone is putting together technical LUTs for different camera models. Right now, if you go over to Gerald Undone's website, he's got LUTs for the Sony series of cameras, S-Log 3, and Nikon N-Log. He says he's just getting started and there will be more cameras to come. What's nice is that you can kind of buy the pack that makes the most sense for you. If you know who I am, you'll know that I'm most looking forward to the Lumix Vlog series of these LUTs. And the reason is because technical color is way more important than anyone really gives it credit. And I'm shocked that it's taken so long. We're in 2025 and we're still up against this challenge of just having technically accurate color right out of these cameras. You see, I'm going to kind of go into color theory and log and LUTs and all that kind of stuff. A lot of the problems associated with it, the can of worms that it's become, talk about some of the solutions and the problems, and let's just talk about color because it's really, really important. I was actually having this conversation this morning, in fact, when I saw Gerald posted about that he's doing these technical LUTs. So first of all, let's talk about that. Let's start there. These LUTs are technically accurate, meaning that it's going to give you correct color and contrast if you get your exposure correct. And you don't have to nail it in camera. You can fix it in post, but that's an adjustment you do before the LUT. And then from there, you apply the LUT and you should have accurate color that matches. From there, you can grade it however you like. The problem with LUTs, from my perspective, and I've talked about this probably for almost the last 10 years, is that so many of the LUT packs are based on creative aesthetic choices that you may or may not want, things that look cool. So something like, hey, get the Matrix look, or get the Inception look, or get, whatever your favorite movie is, Gladiator, get the Gladiator look. Or there's other LUTs out there that will convert different cameras to other cameras. So say you're shooting Lumix and, oh, these LUTs make it look like the Alexa, for example. Obviously, you're not going to spend $1,000 or $2,000 on a camera and get the performance of a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 camera. But in theory, yes, there's some color manipulation you can do to kind of get that look. But I've never been very happy with them. I think a lot of it is creative, it's subjective, it's more of the art side of the equation, where very few, in fact, almost none of the LUTs that I've seen over the last 10 years have focused on being color accurate, the technical accuracy. And if you're going to trust anyone on technicals, I think it probably is Gerald. I should say, this isn't an ad. This isn't a financial benefit for me in any way. I'm looking forward to finally getting some good technically accurate Lumix LUTs, but I benefit financially no way from this. This is just me thinking it's cool and it's important because you can do this yourself. So a lot of people will talk about color checkers. I've talked about them before. So a lot of people know this type of device. This is the color checker passport video from Calibrite, but there's a lot of different types out there. This one you can use for white balance, but you can also get all the chips. But a lot of people just stop there. They look at it, they think it's cool. They think, yeah, that's kind of a neat video thing that I'll set up and maybe I'll record it, but they don't know how to use it. You see, what's important is the actual color values of these chips. This red is a particular red. This green is a particular green. This teal and blue and magenta, they all match up on the vector scope in Premiere. So if you record this, and let's say your camera with the lens, with the filter, with the light, all those variables combine to give you a certain look right out of the box when you apply a LUT in Premiere. What happens more often than not, even if you're using the Panasonic LUT, is that the color values don't actually match up and you have to do the manipulation yourself. I've actually made a video talking about how I do this in Premiere. You can do the hue versus hue curve and basically line up the red that you're seeing in Premiere. You don't even need a calibrated monitor for this. You could be colorblind and you could still do this. I have a whole tutorial on it. But basically you just match up the color with what it's supposed to be mathematically on the scope, on the graph. So that's how you use something like this, but I haven't seen someone take it one step further and make a proper cube file, because the thing to know about this is only a handful of values. I think what Gerald is doing is using far more advanced charts than what I have here. I don't know his exact process. I'm sure he'll probably break it down in a video at some point to promote these LUTs, but something to keep an eye out for. If you've struggled with getting good color, color that matches what it's supposed to. I don't know, there's a lot of times in life where there's specific shades, hues that need to be accurate. Skin tone is probably the most important one because it's one of the human traits that we all share as we recognize good skin tone. We know what skin is supposed to look like regardless of race or ethnicity. Skin tone has its color because of the blood beneath our skin. And so we all kind of share it in common. There's a particular line on the vector scope. I call it the blood line. I don't know if that's what it's actually called, but it's the skin tone value, the line on the vector scope that you're supposed to match. And on a chart like this, there's some skin tone values here as well that you can match up to that line. But beyond skin, what other colors maybe want to be technically accurate? Coca-Cola red has a very particular hue, shade, saturation, lightness that's their red. Same thing for almost any brand. They have their particular color that they want to match correctly. So if you're doing any type of commercial work, you need to get those colors accurate. And there's a lot of steps you can do. Historically, we've done all sorts of things. Bringing into Photoshop, you take screenshots, you run around, you bounce between all these different programs just to get the colors accurate. And even with these LUTs, you may still need to do that, and you probably ought to. You probably should have those skills in your tool belt. But what I appreciate about these LUTs is that they're not creative, hey, this looks cool. You get the Matrix look, get the whatever your favorite movie look is. Make it look like an A24 film. No, that's the final step in color grading, the art side of the equation, but color correction is the technical aspect of it. And it's really, really important to get it right because so many of these companies actually get it wrong. I don't know why we live in a world where the actual LUTs from Panasonic don't match up with the actual colors they're supposed to be. But that's what happens when you're grading vlog and you throw the Panasonic Rec 709 LUT on your footage. You'll find that the colors don't actually match what they're supposed to. And then you can take it one step further and do what I've explained in the tutorial, do your hue versus hue, curve and get it to adjust. But I want that all just in the LUT. One click to get technically accurate color. And that's what Gerald is going for. I will have to test and see, is this actually going to work the way he says it does? Well, I trust Gerald quite a bit from a technical standpoint. He'll be the first to admit that he's not a filmmaker, he's not a storyteller, but when it comes to the technicals and charts and color reproduction and exposure and all the stops of latitude you're getting in your dynamic range, I really appreciate his insights because he takes it to that degree of accuracy, which is far more important than someone saying, hey, I think this looks cool. Yeah, just do, tweak these couple things. Yeah, that looks good. Well, it can look good, but is it accurate? Can you repeat it? Can you replicate it? Or are you just lining up points on a curve to make one shot look cool? And then on another shot, it's completely arbitrary what adjustments you're making. And there's plenty of LUT packs out there. There's plenty over the last decade, people being like, oh, use my LUTs, they're the best. Well, I want someone to take that step further and know for sure that beyond this tiny passport chart, all the reds, all the blues, all the greens all match up the way they're supposed to in real life. Because like I said, even the LUTs from the companies, Panasonic, Sony, Nikon, etc., oftentimes miss this step. And I don't know why that is. It's something I want to research more and you have a better understanding of, is why if I'm using the official LUT from Panasonic, their cube file, their conversion will give you vlog in the camera, and here's our cube file that converts it to Rec 709, but it's not accurate. The colors don't match up with what they're supposed to match up to. Now, granted, you could say that this particular chart, this Calibrite one, is off. Maybe it's not. Maybe this chart isn't accurate. That's possible too. But it's so far off that I wonder, okay, what step are we missing? What's not matching up? Why is the red and the green and the blue and every other hue under the sun not technically accurate? Now, I don't know what chart Gerald has here in the thumbnail. It looks a little bit more advanced, like it's got quite a few more colors than are on here. So that's what I would expect from a LUT pack that is technically accurate, because that's going to give you the right color. Now, you still have to get things right, like your exposure. It's, if you overexpose something significantly, like 5 stops, 10 stops, ridiculously overexposed or underexposed, it's not going to fix that. And you still probably ought to get your white balance correct, because that's going to be your starting point. So if you're considerably off one direction or the other, that could skew your results. You'd probably have to adjust for that first on the clip, get your white balance correct, and then apply the LUT. But if you're starting with good footage, which is what I always recommend, that's why I've talked about these quite a bit. Start with high quality footage, get it right in camera, and then all your conversions in post-production are a lot easier. They're a lot faster, and you're not pulling your hair out, color grading, color correcting, spending all this time trying to fix things when you just get it right in camera. But I do appreciate this step of having one LUT that's technically accurate. The way I've been doing it is using the Panasonic official LUT, because that's the best one that I can think of. If it's coming from Panasonic, it's got to be pretty good, I would assume, but I'm still always been struggling with that final step of, okay, I've done my conversion, log to 709 using the official Panasonic LUT, and I'm still not seeing accurate color. I still have to adjust my skin tones. I still have to make my green be the green that it's supposed to be the magenta that it's supposed to be. The yellow should be this yellow. Now, you will see some variations between different camera bodies. The sensors are different and they react differently. I'm sure they're calibrated to some degree by Panasonic, but those differences are small differences where theoretically, if you're shooting vlog, you should be able to have one LUT that gets you exactly where you want to go in one click for technical accuracy. And then from there, you can color grade it to look like the Matrix or whatever you want it to look like. Get it to, look like Interstellar or whatever your Oppenheimer, I don't know, whatever your favorite movie is. You can get it to match from there, but you need to start with accurate color from the beginning. Otherwise, you're just kind of guessing, and and then it does matter. Okay, what's your monitor calibrated to, and are you color correcting in all the things that you're looking at? If you're grading by eye, you're leaving a lot up to your own biology as well as the display that you're coloring on. And I will say DaVinci Resolve makes this a little bit easier than the way Premiere does it, but you can do it in either way. So Premiere, Resolve, either way is totally fine. I won't get into a whole non-linear editor, which is the best. Everyone says Resolve is so great. I still kind of prefer Premiere, but that's personal preference. It's subjective. Use whatever works for you. And Resolve does make it easier, but I'm still shocked that we've been shooting this way for so long. And it's no wonder that so much of the footage that you see out there in the wild, when you're scrolling on social media, if you're just browsing on YouTube, or you're even watching TV and all of a sudden a commercial comes on and it's clearly not been colored. It's like a commercial just in log. Like, I guess that's a look. I guess that's an aesthetic you could think is cool. But there's so much content out there that's just so poorly done and looks really, really bad. But a lot of us don't have the budgets or the time to hire proper colorists who are experts in all of this. So for Gerald to take the time out of his life to put together these LUTs, you have to buy them. They're not free. So he is getting a little bit of benefit there. I think it's something we've been waiting far too long for. You can go the high-end route, hiring a colorist, and if you hire the right person and they know how to do it perfectly, then great. That's awesome. Hire those people, pay them. But on the flip side, don't feel like you're stuck with poor color and struggling, because honestly, it's not even really your fault. It's just we haven't had the right tools up until now to do it in a way that is what Gerald is describing, which is technically accurate, which is really, really important. That's where you need to start. If you're off at the beginning, you're never going to be able to fix it later on, chances are, just by eye, just by guessing, like looking at it going, does that look like the red it's supposed to be? Maybe. Let's take a screenshot. Let's run it into Photoshop just to check. There's far too much of that happening, and that's been happening, and it's tedious and time consuming. And just to have technically accurate LUTs is, such a blessing. And so funny, the timing, because we were just talking about this morning, saying, like it'd be nice if all the steps that we do, all of our Lumetri presets, were confirmed accurate as far as we can, use the hue versus hue curve, but it's still not a numerical value. It's like you're close. You might be right. You're in the ballpark, but what is it supposed to be? Let's put together that LUT. And lo and behold, I open up Instagram and there's Gerald holding his chart saying, hey, I'm doing it. I'm making unofficial, undone, technically accurate LUTs. So great. So thankful that someone's actually taking the time to do this, because I would probably do it for myself for the Lumix cameras and say, yeah, okay, now I have what I need. But am I going to take it and do it for Nikon, for Sony, for Canon, for Blackmagic, for Fuji? Nah, I don't have the incentive to do that. But it looks like Gerald might. So I'm glad he's starting with Sony and Nikon. I would hope Panasonic Lumix is soon thereafter. Canon, obviously, still missing. So we'll see what happens, but I wanted to just draw some attention to it because I think it's so cool, so worthwhile. And for 20 bucks to have technically accurate color right out of camera with one cube conversion, I think that's what we've all been needing, and a lot of people don't know they need it because they think they're just using the standard LUT from Sony or the standard LUT from Panasonic, not realizing they're still not on the mark. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why Sony and Panasonic aren't getting it right with their official LUT. That cube file should be able to do everything Gerald's doing, so I don't know why it's up to him to fix what these companies have been selling and giving to us for the last decade. But here we are. And thankfully, Gerald's doing it, which bravo to him. Thank you, Gerald. We appreciate it. Looking forward for many more packs to come because there's lots of cameras out there. There's lots of different color profiles, different log spaces. This is S-Log3. What about S-Log2? There's people who are still shooting S-Log2. Nikon N-Log. We'll see if Nikon comes out with an N-Log2. They might want to, based on my testing that I did with the Z6 Mark III, but that's a whole other story. So go check it out. Give Gerald some support if these are cameras that you're shooting with in either Nikon or Sony, or stay tuned for more. I would imagine he'll have stuff coming out sooner rather than later for some of the other camera systems. So go check it out and say thank you to Gerald, because I think this is a really a worthwhile task that he's undertaken.